The rain fell hard on Lagos that night, like the sky itself was crying for me. Every drop splashed on the asphalt, reflecting the city lights. Neon signs blurred in the puddles, as if the world was painting a portrait of heartbreak. I had always trusted him, Deo, the man I loved more than my own heartbeat. I believed in his smiles, his soft whispers, the way he held my hand in crowded streets. I believed in the promises he never kept. But tonight, the truth hit me like a thunderclap. I saw the message on his phone, the one he had thought I would never find. A name I had never heard before. A woman smiling in a photo he sent, a secret he carried with him every day. My hands trembled, my chest burned, and the sound of the city outside faded into silence. I had been living a lie, wrapped in the arms of a man who smiled while hiding betrayal. Every memory, every laugh, every whispered "I love you" now felt like glass cutting into my soul. And in that moment, as the rain soaked through my clothes and the city buzzed around me, a single thought formed in my mind. Revenge will come quietly, but it will come. If you love African romance stories filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and shocking twists, make sure to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more emotional, cinematic stories to life. Stories that make you laugh, cry, and hold your breath with every twist. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Who surprised you the most, and whose side would you take? Now, let me introduce the people at the center of this storm. Amara, a young, determined woman with a heart bigger than Lagos itself. She smiles easily, loves deeply, and believes in the best in people. Working in a bustling city office, she juggles her career, friendships, and dreams of a loving relationship. Every gesture she gives, every word she whispers, comes from a place of trust and hope, but tonight, that trust will be tested in ways she never imagined. Deo, the man she loved and trusted above all else. Handsome, charming, and magnetic, he has the perfect smile, the perfect words, the perfect facade. But beneath that charm lies manipulation and secrets that can destroy anyone who dares to fall for him completely. Chisholm, the woman Amara never saw coming. Confident, cunning, and unapologetic, she moves through the city like a shadow, always one step ahead. Her arrival will ignite the fire that Amara never knew she had within herself. And then there's Lagos. Not just a city, but a living, breathing character in this story. Its bustling streets, flickering neon lights, endless traffic, and the rhythmic sound of rain will witness every heartbreak, betrayal, and act of revenge. Tonight, as Amara walks through these streets, the stage is set for a love that deceives, a betrayal that shatters, and a journey that will transform her forever. The days after that stormy night blurred together for Amara. Every glance from Deo, every whispered excuse, every laugh that didn't quite reach his eyes, became a question in her mind. Lagos moved around her, indifferent to her heartbreak, its traffic honking, neon lights flickering, street vendors shouting, but she felt trapped in a silent storm of suspicion and doubt. She noticed it first in the small things. The faint scent of perfume she didn't recognize lingering on his jacket, the sudden phone calls he silenced when she walked into the room, and the late nights he claimed were work emergencies. Each lie, each half-truth, was like a drop of water in a bucket that would eventually overflow. Amara's friends began noticing the change. Her smiles were forced, her laughter hollow, her hands always fidgeting with her phone. She wanted to trust him, but the gnawing feeling in her chest refused to allow it. Something was wrong. One evening, Deo returned home unusually quiet. Amara watched him from across the living room, her heart hammering. He avoided her eyes, placing his briefcase down gently, pretending everything was normal. "Where were you?" she asked softly, her voice trembling but steady. "Just work," he replied, not meeting her gaze. But the silence that followed spoke louder than words. Amara's eyes narrowed. She replayed every conversation, every touch, every smile. Could she have been so blind? And then came the text notification she had been silently dreading, a name that wasn't hers, a few words that confirmed her worst fear. He wasn't the man she loved. He was a man she never truly knew. Betrayal had begun quietly, but now it was screaming at her. She clenched her fists, biting back tears. The city outside roared with life, motorbikes, honking cars, and shouting vendors. But inside her apartment, it was a heavy silence broken only by the pounding of her own heart. She realized something chilling. The man she loved was hiding a world from her, and every lie he told had been building up to this moment. Amara knew she had two choices: crumble under the weight of betrayal, or rise and face the storm that Deo had unknowingly created. The rain had stopped, but Lagos still glistened under the city lights. Amara sat on her bed, hands trembling as she held Deo's phone. A single text from Chisholm confirmed her worst fear. He had been lying all along. Deo walked in, unaware of what she had seen. "Amara, it's not what you think," he said, trying to sound calm. Her eyes narrowed. "Not what I think. Deo, I've been blind, and I've been your fool." Before he could react, she slapped him across the face. The sound cracked sharply in the small apartment, louder than the distant hum of Lagos traffic. Deo stumbled backward, clutching his cheek. "Amara, wait." Chisholm appeared suddenly in the doorway, a smug smile on her face. "So, this is the famous Amara? I expected more from you," she taunted. Amara's fists clenched, eyes blazing. Chisholm stepped closer, attempting to push Amara aside, but Amara grabbed her wrist and twisted it, causing Chisholm to stumble. Deo lunged to separate them, but Amara shoved him backward, sending him crashing into the edge of the sofa. The sound of the impact echoed, a reminder of the betrayal he had caused. The three of them circled, tension crackling in the air like static. Amara moved with purpose, delivering a forceful shove to Chisholm, who regained her balance and countered with a quick swipe, barely missing Amara's face. Amara's heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You think you can take everything from me?" she shouted. "This ends now." Chisholm lunged, trying to push Amara against the wall, but Amara twisted, dodged, and slapped her across the cheek, the slap ringing like a bell. Deo tried to intervene again, but Amara pushed him aside with enough force to make him stagger. The room felt smaller with every movement, their shouts mixing with the city sounds outside, the honking of cars, vendors calling, the distant wail of a siren. Rain began tapping on the window again, as if the city itself mourned the chaos inside. Amara's fists unclenched, her breathing heavy, yet she stood taller than ever. She had defended herself, exposed the lies, and taken back a small measure of control. But she knew this was only the beginning. Every slap, every shove, every forceful movement had fueled a fire in her that would not be extinguished. The next evening, Lagos pulsed with life. Patrons whispered in the upscale rooftop lounge where Amara had agreed to meet Deo and Chisholm. Neon lights reflected off wet marble floors. Every step Amara took in her heels echoed like a drumbeat of vengeance. Deo spotted her and tried to compose himself. "Amara, we need to talk," he said, his voice shaking. "Let them watch," Amara replied, eyes scanning the crowd, hands trembling with barely contained fury. "Everyone is about to see who you really are." Chisholm smirked. "I see you've finally shown up. I expected more, but I'm entertained," she said, stepping closer. Amara lunged at Chisholm, grabbing her by the shoulders and pushing her back into a chair. The chair tipped slightly, scraping against the floor. Chisholm regained her balance and attempted to strike Amara, but Amara ducked and delivered a sharp slap to Chisholm's face, the sound ringing in the lounge. Deo tried to intervene, stepping between them, but Amara shoved him backward, sending him bumping into a waiter, who dropped a tray of drinks. Glass shattered, adding to the chaos. Patrons gasped, their attention now fully on the fight unfolding before them. "You thought I'd stay quiet?" Amara shouted, delivering another forceful slap to Chisholm, who staggered, clutching her cheek. Deo stumbled forward, reaching out to restrain Amara, but she twisted away, sending him into a pillar, leaving him dazed. The city lights reflected in Amara's tear-streaked face as she regained her composure. She stepped forward, fists raised, but not to strike anymore. Instead, her presence, her posture, her unwavering gaze dominated the space. Every shove, every slap, every near fall had shifted the power entirely. "You underestimated me," Amara said firmly, letting her voice carry to the shocked crowd. "Every lie you told, every betrayal, ends tonight. I am done being your fool." Chisholm froze, guilt and fear flickering in her eyes. Deo's face drained of color, realizing the consequences of his actions. The crowd witnessed not just a confrontation, but a full reversal of power. Rain began to patter against the rooftop windows, city sounds alive outside, echoing the storm inside. Amara's heart pounded with victory. She had fought, physically and emotionally, and the first act of her revenge was complete. Months had passed since the rooftop confrontation. Legos had changed subtly around Amara, but she had changed in ways the city couldn't even recognize. Her heartbreak had transformed into a quiet, simmering strength. Each morning, she walked the streets with purpose, heels clicking against the wet asphalt, city lights reflecting in puddles, rain sometimes falling just enough to remind her of that night, the night that had ignited the fire within her. Amara had poured herself into her work, rising through the ranks at her firm with a determination that made colleagues whisper in awe. She had redecorated her apartment into a sanctuary of modern elegance, sleek lines, soft lighting, and a view of the Lagos skyline that reminded her every day that she was no longer the woman who had trembled at Deo's lies. She had become untouchable, and she knew it. Yet her transformation wasn't only external. Every word she spoke now carried authority, every glance demanded respect, every smile hid a strategy. Her friends noticed it immediately. She was no longer the trusting, naive Amara. She moved like a queen, not a victim, and even the city itself seemed to acknowledge her presence. Taxi drivers tipped their hats, market vendors greeted her with respect, and strangers gave way as she walked by. And then came the evening of her return, the moment she had waited for. A corporate gala, lights sparkling like stars over the Lagos harbor. She arrived in a sleek, red designer gown, hair cascading in waves, her presence commanding every eye in the room. She didn't need to search for him. Deo was already there, mingling, oblivious to what awaited him. The instant he saw her, his confident smile faltered. His eyes widened, disbelief overtaking his charm. He tried to approach her, words forming on his lips, but Amara was already several steps ahead. She walked past him with a calm grace, heels echoing like the drumbeats of revenge, her eyes locked on the crowd rather than the man who had shattered her. Chisholm, equally stunned, lingered near the bar, whispering to herself. She had underestimated Amara's resilience, her cunning, her power. Every whispered doubt, every sly smile, every subtle glance from Amara now radiated dominance. Amara's inner voice was steady, clear, unshaken. "You thought I was weak. You thought I'd crumble. But look at me now. Every tear, every heartbreak, every betrayal has forged me into someone stronger than you could ever imagine." Later that night, Deo approached, desperate and unsteady. "Amara, please, we can fix this. I made mistakes." Amara paused, letting the words sink in. Her gaze, steady and piercing, met his. "Fix this? You can't fix betrayal. You can't rewrite the pain you caused. I am no longer yours to manipulate. I am mine." And with that, she turned away, walking through the glittering gala like a force of nature, leaving behind stunned spectators, a crumbling ex-lover, and a rival who had miscalculated her resolve. The city lights caught the shimmer of her dress, reflecting not just beauty, but power, vengeance, and rebirth. Amara had been broken, but no longer. The woman who had cried in the rain, who had trembled at betrayal, had risen from the ashes of heartbreak. And this, she knew, was only the beginning. Every step she took was a reminder. Love may have deceived her, but strength and revenge had found her. The gala lights shimmered across the Lagos skyline, reflecting in the glass walls of the Harborview Ballroom. Amara moved with calm precision, every step measured, every glance purposeful. She had transformed her pain into power, her heartbreak into strategy. Tonight was not just a social event, it was the stage for her ultimate payback. Deo spotted her from across the room, his confident demeanor crumbling as disbelief and panic overtook him. His mind raced. How could the woman he had betrayed stand so tall, so commanding, so untouchable? He approached, carefully choosing his words. Amara, please, I can explain. We can fix this. Amara didn't flinch. She let him speak, but each word bounced off her like water on stone. Her eyes, sharp and piercing, locked onto his. Fix this? She asked, voice low, controlled, yet laced with the power of every tear, every sleepless night, every betrayal he had ever inflicted. Do you even hear yourself? You can't fix trust once it's shattered. You can't rewrite lies you thought were hidden. I am no longer yours. A hush fell over the crowd. Patrons, colleagues, and strangers alike sensed the intensity between them. Deo's face flushed with panic, guilt, and desperation. He tried again, reaching toward her. Amara, please, I love you. I never meant. But Amara took a single step back, her red gown flowing like fire, her presence commanding every eye. Love, she said softly, almost a whisper, yet it cut through the air like a knife. What you call love was manipulation. You hid behind charm, behind smiles. You thought I was weak. But I've learned something. Strength is born from pain, and power is born from betrayal. Tonight, I am untouchable. Chisholm, standing near the bar, shifted uncomfortably. Her smugness had vanished, replaced with the faintest trace of fear. She had underestimated Amara's resilience, the fire that Heartbreak had ignited. Deo sank into a nearby chair, defeated, realizing the game had completely shifted. Every plan he had to maintain control over Amara was gone. She had reclaimed herself, her life, her dignity. Amara turned toward the harbor, letting the city lights glint off her tear-streaked yet radiant face. The neon reflections mirrored her transformation, from hurt and naive to confident, powerful, and unstoppable. And then came the twist. As Deo slumped in disbelief, Chisholm approached Amara cautiously, her tone almost respectful. I didn't think you'd come back like this, but I respect you, she said, voice low. He never deserved you. Amara looked at her, a small, knowing smile tugging at her lips. Exactly. He never did. The night ended with the crowd oblivious to the silent war that had been won. Amara had taken back everything that was stolen from her, respect, dignity, and power. Deo could beg, could plead, could gaze at her with regret, but it was too late. She had rewritten her story. As she stepped onto the balcony overlooking Lagos, the city stretching endlessly beneath her, Amara whispered to herself, I am not broken. I am not defeated. I am Amara, and this is only the beginning. Her silhouette against the glittering skyline became a symbol of resilience and transformation. The man she loved had been her greatest lie, but from that lie, she had forged a truth stronger than any betrayal. And somewhere in the shadows, a new chapter waited, one of revenge, of love reclaimed, and of a power that even the city itself seemed to acknowledge. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next dramatic African storytelling episode. Share this video with someone who loves emotional, cinematic stories.